Oh, hi there! There are so many huge searches in lost media that it's hard to narrow it down, but in my years of searching, there are 5 in particular that have reached the public and captivated interest in a way rarely seen in lost media. These searches have helped shape and build the community into the robust team it is today. Join me as we take a look at some of the most intriguing, storied, and mysterious searches in lost media, many of which still have unanswered questions to this day. But before we begin, I want to give an honorable mention to the lost Japanese commercial Hitogata. Of all the lost media searches I've come across, I have never seen so many fan recreations or so many resources made in an attempt to track down a nearly mythical piece of lost media. But while the search is massive, it's mainly conducted in Japanese, and because of the language barrier, I feel I can't do the search justice with Google Translate. I want to start today with one of the most iconic pieces of lost media that's gone on to define the lost media community: the search for Clockman. It all began with a post on the Bungie.net off-topic forum in 2012. The poster, Commander Santa, wrote about an unidentified cartoon he saw only once in the 80s.
This short animation was terrifying as a child. The scene is still burned into my mind 28 years later. It's of a young boy sleeping in his bed. Above his bed is a ticking clock. All the lights in the room are off and it is very dark. Suddenly, the clock begins to slow down. It's ticking and eventually it stops on midnight. When the clock stops, a greenish-bluish man climbs out of the clock. The boy wakes up just in time to see this man dressed in black grab him out of bed and kidnap him by carrying him through a window. The clock man takes the boy on some kind of terrifying adventure and brings him back to his bed before sunrise.
Commander Santa was initially written off as a troll, and for good reason. This short sounds straight out of a creepypasta, but he was soon met with a flood of others who remembered the short, but with slightly different details. His story was basically confirmed when a post from 2004 was dug up on the Animation Nation forums, where Michael W. Howe wrote about a shockingly similar short from Nickelodeon's Pinwheel. Michael's post gave us some new details, like the wizard having green skin, the child losing red shoes, and having to sew stars into the night sky, along with the haunting line, "But the wizard did not forget." The team behind the search immediately began buying up all the Pinwheel DVDs they could find, but this is where the search hit its first major setback. Pinwheel was a similar show to Sesame Street that aired from 1977 to 1990 with 260 episodes, and to this day, the vast majority of Pinwheel is still lost media, with only 10 hours of the series having been found. It soon became apparent that they were searching for a needle in a lost media haystack, and though the existence of the short was basically confirmed, the lack of leads led the search to die down. Things were reignited in 2016 by the legendary founder of the Lost Media Wiki, Diecate, who began chasing leads. Diecate would contact Pinwheel writer Michael Karp, who led him to Co Films, a company that Pinwheel bought shorts from. This reinvigorated interest in the search, and people began looking through the catalogs of Co Films. Other leads that were being looked into at the time were The Red Shoes by Hans Christian Andersen, The Irish Folktale of the Changelings, and The 7 O'Clock Man, which is incredibly similar but not quite right. On December 10th, 2017, the Clock Man would be found in the most unexpected way. Lost Media Wiki user Nitrate Nerd was looking for the short on the library catalog WorldCat, searching for a film called The Wizard that they thought might be connected to Clockman. After pages of results, they found a listing for a video titled Sally. They had a YouTube link that led to the elusive Clockman, only it wasn't called Clockman, it was called O Paradive Sally, which translates to Stylish Sally, and the Clockman character himself was named Mr. Cadabra. 11 days later, Commander Santa confirmed that this was the lost film, and Clockman was officially declared found. It turns out the short was made in communist Czechoslovakia in 1976, who based their story on The Old Man in the White House. They sold their work to the Learning Corporation of America, and it eventually found its way to Pinwheel, dubbed in English. The story of Clockman has become one of the most recognizable in lost media, and Mr. Cadabra has become the community's unofficial mascot. The search for Crackmaster was started by a man named John Arman, who made it his life's work to uncover an unsettling short he saw 30 years ago on Sesame Street. John claimed that the haunting cartoon followed a girl daydreaming about the cracks on her walls becoming animals. A friendly crack camel, monkey, and chicken. But the music changes as she sees the terrifying Crack Master. Armand would reach out to people involved with Sesame Street, including the Children's Television Workshop, who confirmed the short did exist, even giving him the exact day it aired, Thursday, February 10th, 1977, on episode 979. But this is where the search takes a turn, moving from lost media to full-fledged mystery. One day in late 2008, John receives an anonymous fax at work saying, "We have the copy." Through fax, John signs a contract saying if they give him the lost short, he will never release it or show it to anyone. Days go by with no word, and he begins to think the whole thing was a hoax. But 6 months later, John receives a package in the mail on a Sunday at his home in rural Iowa with no stamp, no return address, and a note inside saying, "We trust this completes your search," along with a copy of the elusive short titled Cracks. John stayed true to his word and did not post the video online. This left Cracks in a limbo state, a Schrodinger's media if you will, both lost and found. John would occasionally show people the short, and in 2009 he made a 9-minute audio documentary that included a reading of the script. But for nearly 5 years, this is all we had. But like a knight in shining armor, once again comes Die-Kate, who after conducting his own search, on Christmas Eve 2013, he would post this.
Wow. Just wow. During the Christmas rush, I shamefully neglected to check my emails for a few days. So when I happened to check them today, I was naturally shocked to find an email from December 21st, simply titled Crackmaster, with a file attached as sent through an anonymous emailing service. Immediately, my heart rate shot through the roof, and I tried to calm myself down in the event that this was a fake or a hoax. To my utter delight, though, it was indeed the real deal. To the anonymous emailer who sent me the clip, if you're reading this, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. This is without a doubt the best Christmas present I have ever received, bar none. P.S. Our suspicions were correct. It is called Cracks. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you Cracks.
Even though Cracks was finally found, the mystery was just beginning. Why wasn't John allowed to show it? Who sent copies to John and Die-Kate? And most importantly, who made it? The short received mainstream media attention with articles by The Slate and The Huffington Post detailing the recovery and mystery surrounding Cracks. But it wouldn't be until 2019, when Kurt Anderson of the Studio 360 podcast got in on the mystery, that we would get some kind of answer. Kurt would get in contact with Ben Lehman, the executive producer of Sesame Street, who shined some light on the mystery, saying the short was removed from circulation due to a combination of the crack cocaine epidemic in the 80s and a financial recession that led to homes being in disrepair. Lehman said the short was made by a company called P Imagination, a company that no one can find any evidence of. Kurt was given the contact information for the musicians behind Cracks, including the narrator, Dorothy Moskowitz, who is a former member of the influential band, the United States of America. She was kind enough to talk with Kurt, where she described the recording session as one of the most bizarre of her career. She was given no melody, no chords, and was asked to improvise over the script. Despite the session being so memorable, she has no idea who wrote or animated the short. What she does remember is a mysterious woman in all white who arrived late with a name like Sky or Earth. And this is where the search stands today. There have been a few theories on who made the short, like Cosmo Anzalotti or Catherine Asen, but both have been disproven, and we're still left with so many questions. I'm confident that someday we'll know, but right now we're just left to wonder and keep searching for answers. The missing episodes of Doctor Who are probably the most famous cases of lost media due to the hype surrounding the missing episodes, the continued popularity of the show, and the massive worldwide search to find these missing pieces of television history. Unlike so many other pieces of lost media that are lost due to lack of circulation and being abandoned by their creators, the missing episodes of Doctor Who are being searched for by the BBC themselves, but were also lost because of their sheer ineptitude and lack of foresight. The show is meant to be preserved by either the BBC Film Library or BBC Enterprises, but both groups thought the other was archiving the episodes, and both scrapped Doctor Who master tapes. And this was not an isolated incident. This happened with nearly every single TV show on the BBC for 55 years. TV programs were regularly wiped and the tape was reused or thrown away because it took up too much space, and the BBC thought the episodes would be outdated with the advent of color TV. In 1974, the network was convinced by fan and record producer Ian Levine to stop wiping the master tapes of Doctor Who, and the practice would officially stop with all BBC programming in 1978, but the damage was already done, and the BBC along with their fans began searching for the missing episodes. After searching all of the BBC film libraries, it was discovered that there were 147 lost episodes from the first 3 Doctors between 1967 and 1974. But luckily, the audio from each episode does still exist, being preserved by fans. After searching their own facilities, the BBC began looking to TV stations they sold episodes to for international broadcast. These copies, called telerecordings, were made by pointing a camera at a screen that was showing the episode. Numerous telerecordings of lost episodes were found in Australia and New Zealand in particular during the early years of the search. But these early discoveries were not without their setbacks. While junking of tapes ended in 1978, the directive was not passed to all departments, and one individual in particular blatantly ignored the directive, continuing to destroy BBC programming as late as 1981. It's never been clarified if any of the currently missing episodes were junked by this anonymous employee, but he did it intentionally, bragged about it, and even destroyed tapes that were returned from overseas. Moving into the 80s, copies from official sources became more and more rare, and episodes began being found in less likely situations. A surprising source was film fairs in the UK and New Zealand, that after long periods of negotiations, resulted in 4 missing episodes being recovered. But perhaps the most unusual of all came from the Church of Latter-day Saints. In September of 1983, the BBC received a phone call from a Mormon parish that was moving out of their building and found numerous film canisters belonging to the BBC and asked if they wanted them back. The BBC of course wanted them, and the small collection would end up containing 2 missing Doctor Who episodes, along with other lost BBC shows like WARSHIP and Adventure World. It turned out the building the parish was moving out of was previously owned by the BBC, and in the move the BBC must have left behind old film canisters. The 90s saw their fair share of unexpected recoveries too, and also moved the search to countries in the Middle East, Eastern Asia, and the Americas. Copies were found in the United Arab Emirates, Hong Kong, and even from an ABC documentary that showcased episodes of Doctor Who. Even though the Australian TV stations had been searched, the episodes were often subject to strict Australian censorship laws. Cut clips were thought to be long gone, but in 1996, it was discovered that the censors would physically cut out the offending tape from episodes, and they would keep it as proof that they did their job. Once discovered, these tapes were returned, and copies from Australia and New Zealand would be fully restored. These discoveries would continue into the 21st century, with the most recent announcement coming from 2020 that there are at least 6 lost episodes in the hands of private collectors that are currently being negotiated over, leaving the current total of lost episodes at 97. In the over 40 years of searching, only one episode has been confirmed to be completely lost, the 1965 episode The Feast of Stephen. The episode was a Christmas special, with no telerecording made for overseas distribution, and the master tape was destroyed on August 17th, 1967. A fan recreation has been made, and this is likely all we will ever have from this missing episode. In 2012, an Amazon listing was posted for a film titled A Day with SpongeBob SquarePants, the movie, unauthorized documentary. The description reads,
In this mockumentary, SpongeBob lives above ground like all Hollywood superstars. Afraid that SpongeBob is becoming old news, his boss runs a contest called Spend a Day with SpongeBob. The contest makes SpongeBob the talk of the town as thousands of kids enter to win. The lucky winner is Seth, and he is ecstatic about his day with SpongeBob. However, the day becomes a roller coaster ride as things don't go quite the way they planned.
On August 8th, 2013, the mysterious movie was discussed on the SB Mania forums. The forums had a link to the Amazon page where the DVD was listed as out of stock. Initially, the movie was glanced over because it was unauthorized, but by 2015, the movie still hadn't surfaced, and a page was made on the Lost Media Archives searching for the film, and not much progress was made. Until 4chan got involved. Through 4chan, we were able to find the film's QR code, that the DVD cover uses a stock photo, the quotes used were not from real people, and the creators of the movie, Inavision Films, were just another name for Regal Films, a production company behind some truly awful unauthorized documentaries. Once looking into Regal Films, some major red flags came up. The business address was in a mall food court and later found to be abandoned. The official website had a Trojan virus on it, and when contacting individuals affiliated with Regal Films, they reacted with hostility or confusion, claiming they were not connected with the company. No one was willing to talk, and around the time the search got more traction, the Trojan virus was reportedly removed from the site. By digging further, it was found that Regal made a Kickstarter for a film called Good Luck that made over $10,000 from only 20 backers. Another major red flag, since most Kickstarters need hundreds or thousands of backers to get this amount. But through this Kickstarter, we found 2 people attached to Regal, Jason Boritz and Lorenzo Hawley. Upon contacting Jason, he was extremely hostile, screaming over the phone to never contact him again. Lorenzo was initially unwilling to talk about the film, but after enough pressure, he finally agreed to talk about the movie with the YouTube channel Ongoing Mysteries in 2016. In the interview, Lorenzo told Ongoing Mysteries that Regal was just the distributor and did not actually make any of their movies. He got them in contact with one of the creators of A Day with SpongeBob SquarePants, who wished to remain anonymous, only identified as Mr. Orange. On August 3, 2016, Ongoing Mysteries interviewed Mr. Orange, where he shed some light on the history of the project and tried to clarify some of the confusion. He reiterated that Regal was just the distributor, and speculated that Regal's offices were likely closed due to declining interest in the DVD industry. He went on to describe his vision for A Day with SpongeBob SquarePants, taking inspiration from both John Hughes films and Larry David's Curb Your Enthusiasm. The Amazon listing was simply a proof of concept meant to gauge interest in the project, and the cover art was a mock-up made by an illustrator on Elance, stock images, and fake quotes. Mr. Orange made it clear that the movie was not authorized by Nickelodeon or Viacom. It was meant to be a live-action mockumentary, but the movie was never made and there were no copies ever distributed. However, he does have some materials that were going to be used in the movie's trailer currently still in his possession, and he does intend to make the movie someday through Kickstarter. The issue is that Mr. Orange never showed any proof that he actually worked on the project, and as of March 2021, 5 years later, no Kickstarter has ever been made and Mr. Orange has stopped responding to emails. Basically, the whole thing stinks. The Trojan virus on their website, the hostility of everyone involved with Regal, the abandoned office, lack of proof, nothing adds up. And as dramatic as it might sound, the search for A Day with SpongeBob SquarePants is far from over. As we saw in the search for A Day with SpongeBob SquarePants, 4chan giveth, but we're about to find out 4chan also taketh away. On February 19, 2015, on 4chan's paranormal board, a user asked about the most disturbing things seen on the deep web. Being 4chan, they were immediately mocked, but a few users posted about their deep web experiences, and one in particular caught the internet's attention. An anonymous user told about a terrifying anime so disturbing they cried themselves to sleep, describing it as 9 girls stuck in a bathroom who eventually all go crazy, killing each other and themselves. They remember the anime being 80s quality, a Japanese dub with English subs, about 30 minutes long with no credits like it was a rip, and that the character designs were generic but each voice was unique. They also remember the name being a poor translation, something like Go for a Punch. When pressed about details, the anonymous user posted pictures of a similar looking anime character to what they remembered, but with white hair. They also remember that there was ambient music but no horror music. The file name had Japanese characters that couldn't be rendered on their Windows XP computer, and that the video player looked similar to Bing's video player. One user responded suggesting that the anime was called Saki Sanobashi. The OP never responded to the name, but it stuck and has become synonymous with Go for a Punch. The search died down until 2018 when a Twitter thread was started by a user named Fabianski describing the same anime, insisting it was real. In 2019, a Reddit page was made dedicated to finding the lost anime. The search was boosted that same year when YouTuber Whang began uploading videos about the search. Around this point, the community moved to searching through Guro anime, a genre known for being extremely explicit, but found that due to censorship, these animes and mangas were hard to come by. But this brought up an interesting point, that this kind of graphic anime wasn't being taken down from the surface web by the time of the original post, and there'd be no need for someone to put it on the deep web. The Reddit page was eventually thrown into disarray by a huge number of trolls, leading the community on wild goose chases that led to infighting, the creation of a second Reddit page, and mass bannings on the Discord server. But the search was about to hit its biggest roadblock yet. On December 22, 2019, a post was made by a user named Saki Sanobashi OP, titled, I'm the OP
of Saki Sonobashi, it's fake, and I'm sorry. I made the original post about Go for a Punch, or as it's now called, Saki Sonobashi, as a joke. It all started when I was browsing 4chan and found a thread that was asking about the scariest things that you've seen on the deep web. And in classic 4chan user fashion, I decided to troll a little, just for fun. I made up some cliche, spoopy, lost episode-esque story in like 5 minutes and gave it an awkward-sounding English title, since a lot of anime, especially low-budget quality ones, have names like that. My only purpose was to troll the OP of the original thread, since he seemed pretty gullible seeing as he was asking people about the scariest things that they've seen on the deep web and expected a serious answer from 4chan. Saki is fake. I made the whole thing up as a stupid troll. I didn't think that anyone would actually believe me, and I couldn't even imagine that it was possible for it to blow up to this level. I have nothing left to say, other than offering all of you a sincere apology for having tricked you for so long.
Saki Sanobashi OP proceeded to share the original photos he posted to 4chan with timestamps, and while they could be a troll with fake photos, a part of the community believed Saki Sanobashi OP, and they moved on from the search. But others were not so easily swayed. The search still continues today, with the community looking into leads like the obscure 80s short film The Lady in the Sea of Blood, about a woman brushing her teeth as her mouth bleeds. This short is said to be just one of a 5-part series, 3 of which are still yet to surface, and so it began to search outside of Japan in countries like China, Vietnam, and Korea. There are even teams who have written scripts for the lost anime, and recreation efforts seem to be in the works, though it looks like most have died down. Maybe if we hit up Team Saki on Instagram or YouTube, we can show them there is still interest in the project. I'll link their pages in the description, but fair warning, their Instagram page does contain graphic content. Because even if Saki Sanobashi is not real, seeing a recreation would make the whole thing worth it. Go for a Punch is often compared to the search for Clockman, where it was thought to be fake but ended up being found. The difference is that Clockman was seen by thousands of kids in the 80s and aired on a major network. Go for a Punch is a rumored, obscure, not safe for work anime, likely by a small studio. If it is real, the chances of finding it are almost zero. I want to believe it's real and that it can be found, but I'm not sure I do. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks to Molly, my lovely wife, for narrating the quotes. If you made it to this point, you might as well like the video and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. If you want to learn more about any of the searches I've covered, I'll link videos by Blameitonjorge and Whang in the description that take deep dives into some of these searches. This is Mike with All Things Lost. See you soon!